welcome to the Motive for Life radio show. This is Robert Christensen. Thank you for joining me. Today, we're going to talk about starting a new side hustle. My personal favorite subject, because I have so many interests that I think I can make money on and that I may or may not be very good at, but I like doing them. And occasionally somebody might say to me, hey, can I get that? And over the years, if not decades, I've learned what I'm really good at doing and what people are willing to buy. This is the key here, right? You could be very, very good at doing a certain thing, but if no one wants to pay money for it, then it's not much of a side hustle. And I think that's the definition of a side hustle that we got to really think about. A side hustle is something that you make money doing outside of your day-to-day job. Or if you have another business or whatever, but it's something that in and of itself does not fulfill all of the financial obligations that you have. You may have 4 or 5 side hustles going that pay all the bills and get things going. But ideally, a side hustle has to be something that you enjoy doing and that you're typically fairly good at. And there are so many side hustle topics. There's one probably for every single human being on this planet that you are good at doing and enjoy doing, because God, could you imagine spending 8 to 10 hours a day working a day job and then going home or getting up early in the morning or taking your weekends away from the people that you love and care about so that you can go do this passion project, this thing that you feel really, really strongly about. I think about my friend Alex, and Alex and his wife have a side hustle making caramel. Caramel, pretty much sugar, a little bit of water, burn it a little bit, right? A little bit of milk, I think, is what goes into caramel, gets it to where it's that creamy state, and they make the best caramel, right? And so why would you go do that unless you didn't really have that deep passion? I mean, if you don't have that deep passion to go do something like that, then it just becomes a chore, right? So I think the first requirement of a side hustle, of all side hustles, is that you got to be passionate about it. And caramel's their passion, right? They love doing it. They like putting it on all sorts of stuff. They like putting it on ice cream and put it inside their candies. And it's a great, great thing. And I've had it and it's wonderful. Now, that requires a lot of work. It requires them spending time at home cooking, getting the ingredients, etc. And it's a nice side hustle that throws off a few $100 every month, and they enjoy the hell out of it. That's what I'm talking about. That's about doing something that someone else is willing to pay for on a recurring basis, and then you decide that that side hustle is what you want to do. Now, when you start a side hustle, you have to make a decision of what level you want this side hustle to be. You know, you had to get into it. Are you able to sell enough of it to make it legit? And what I mean by legit is how much money do you want to make on the side hustle? Now, I live here in the United States, and we have the unbelievable privilege of being able to start a side hustle with nobody getting involved with us. No one telling me what to do or where to go or how much I can sell or how much I can't sell. I just need to make sure I'm honest and straightforward with the IRS and the tax people. That's it. Track your expenses. It's amazing what people neglect to do when they start their side hustle, specifically around keeping track of the cost of building out the side hustle and where you're doing it. It's a business. And when you start a side hustle business, you have to treat it like one, so that the money that you make in, you have to determine how much is going into the business so that you can write that off and lower your tax bill. Now, this is a standard business practice. So the next step in determining how big you want to take this side hustle is understanding how much cost goes into building out your side hustle products. So let's just take our friend Alex. If Alex and his wife are spending $300 every month on cooking supplies, the sugar, let's say that they invest their time and it takes them 10 hours a month to make the amount of batches that are necessary for that, and the jars that goes into it, and the expense of, let's just say, of actually running around and delivering it. You got to add all that stuff up. Let's just say, for example, it cost them $200 to do all that, right? To make $250. Well, that's only $50 profit. And you got to make sure that is that worth it? Is that extra $50 something you want to do? Or can you make $50 babysitting and not have to all the pain? Can you go do something for somebody else, like, do a side hustle job, like do some electrical or maybe some plumbing work for somebody and have that done? It's not caramel by any means. But my point is this: can you make $50 a different way, and are you enjoying it? Well, if they enjoy the hell out of that and they get a lot of joy meeting with people and it fulfills some deep part of them and they can do a break even part of it and that's part of their side hustle deal, that's fantastic because they're bringing joy to people. This is a very important part about the side hustle. You have to decide, is making money in the side hustle a priority? Is it a nice to have, or does it much matter? You have to make that decision because you don't want to let the financial portion of this overtake your passion and really bring down your energy around how much effort you want to put into this. If you're making caramel for people because it really makes the people that you give it to happy, and you like the family engagement around it, you like seeing the kids have fun, you may be involved the rest of your family to have a family time while you're actually making it. There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into the joy of that. And if $50 profit on $250 of sales is great for you, and that $50 not only adds on top of all that joy you had, wrap it up and put a bow on it. Good on you. This is a huge, huge realization of the value that the side hustle is bringing you. However, if you want to increase the amount of money you make, meaning your profit, you have to ask yourself, are you doing a side hustle that not only brings you joy, but in addition, are you doing it in a smart way? Meaning like in a business way. So here's the first step of looking at your finances of a side hustle. Number one, make sure you write down all of the costs that are involved with making your product or delivering your service. So for example, I have another friend named Tom, and Tom is a side hustle electrician. Now he has a day job, doing computer networking. Now, what he does on the side though, is he'll do small, odd jobs, handyman jobs for electrical. He'll put in fans, he'll put in ceiling lights, he'll replace outlets, just fundamental stuff around electrical. I love using Tom in my house because I'm terrible at electrical. I don't understand how it works. Well, you understand how it works. You flip a switch. But the point is that I'm not very good at it, and I'd rather have Tom come in my house and do the work for me. Now, Tom has to drive 10 miles from wherever he is, and in Southern California traffic, 10 miles translates maybe to 20 to 25 minutes, depending on traffic volume and what time of day is and something like that. So he's got to plan for that half hour. He comes here, he does the work for an hourly rate, and then he goes and drives to another location. Now, Tom has to add in his gas, his wear and tear on his vehicle, as well as the time it takes for him to get over here before he actually does the job. Now, he charges an hourly rate of $55 an hour, and I happily pay it. But is Tom, for an hour's job, he's spending an hour and a half doing it. He's driving over here and that hour and a half. So his real effective rate is more like $35 an hour, $38 an hour, because of that total time. And I remember talking with him about that. And I said, do you realize that your hourly rate is not really 55? He goes, what do you mean? I said, your hourly rate is more like about $38 or $39 an hour because you have to drive over here to get to me. And it was like a light switch went off in his head. He never even thought about that before, about that total effort. I said, you need to raise your rates. I said, you need to push them up more like around the 75 so that you feel and actually have a sense that you're making $50 an hour to get over here and to do that job. And so he really thought about that. He raised his rates, which I didn't mind paying because he does good work. And when he did that, he felt so much better about himself. His self-worth went up and he felt like, you know what? I have to cover all my expenses. And while he is here, he was very good about tracking what parts he replaced and stuff like that. He had run out of Home Depot. He had to charge for his time to go to Home Depot, come back. So that all added up to the side hustle services that he was doing. Okay. Now, let's say you're delivering a product. And I think a lot about my wife is a baker, and we talk a lot about selling her cookies. She is an award-winning Southern California baker. She won this big trade show, baking show at the Orange County Fair. She made a biscotti that was to die for, right? And she won the first place in that space amongst so many competitive people around a cookie, right? And everybody wanted them. There was a great recipe. It was a cranberry almond biscotti it was fantastic, right? So it could go in every coffee shop. And we thought about that and the effort it would take and the price point for that cookie was going to be somewhere around $3.50, $4 per cookie. And you think about the amount of time and effort and the number of hours it takes for her to cook it, the quality of the ingredients. The ingredients were top shelf, right? So she only bought the best cranberries as well as, the almond extract and how she baked it. And if you do biscotti, you got to do a double bake, right? You cook the main loaf, you cut it up, and then you bake it again. And then the getting an oven or a set of ovens that would able to do that so she can get some volume required moving into what's called a certified kitchen. You can't sell in the state of California, in Orange County, you can't sell past a certain dollar amount without having a certified kitchen, which means that the health inspector needs to see it, and legitimately so. I absolutely support this, right? So there was all of this side hustle stuff that goes in, and we basically looked at the list of all the work to get it to that next level to do it. And we said, nah, it's probably not worth starting a side hustle, paid side hustle for that. She just decided to bake her stuff, her cookies, all the things that she likes to do, and not have to worry about money and that type of stuff. She would just save her money, cook a batch, and then give them out during Christmas or holidays and stuff like that. And that's what she decided to do because at the end of the day, she did not want to have to deal with all of the financial sides to make that real. You may be different. You may have a side hustle making cutting boards like my friend Alexi. And Alexi and his boys make these cutting boards, and they're fantastic cutting boards. And he's teaching his sons how to deal with business and what it takes to, actually produce a high-end cutting board. And his cutting boards sell for a couple $100 a piece because they include all the labor, all the wood, all the time, and they're one of a kind and they're pieces of art. And so in his world, he's teaching his sons the side hustle on how to be woodworkers and charge for their time appropriately to run a business. And so what I'm suggesting for you, as you think about starting your side hustle, as you are running your side hustle, understanding your costs, all the parts that come into it, understanding the time it takes to deliver it, and understanding any kind of computer system or websites or monthly fees that you have to pay to sell something like through Etsy or some Pinterest or whatever you're going to sell through. And then accumulating all of the components, the necessary parts to sell them, meaning that the supplies, then, bringing it together, subtracting your gross revenue, which is the total money you sold it for from the cost involved. That's your time, the services, and the actual materials, leaves you with a profit. Now, side hustles can be extremely profitable, right? So I have a couple, 3 side hustles that I love doing them. Okay. One of them is personal and professional coaching. And I love being a coach. Now I only have my time and my websites that I use for my cost. But when I just look at it that way, I kind of say, wait a second, am I really tracking all my costs? I had to say no, because part of my marketing as part of my side hustle is this podcast. So I pay a couple $20 to a site called Libsyn, which is where my podcasts are stored and then pushed out to all the like Spotify's and the iTunes, et cetera. And then I have a bunch of equipment. I purchased high-end microphones. That's what gives that deep baritone voice to me, is because my microphone is a high-quality microphone. I have Adobe software. So I'm into this like a couple $100 every month on the marketing side of making this podcast. I have a website that I host and stuff like that. So between adding everything up, the Motive for Life side hustle has expenses of somewhere around $500 a month. And that is all in, all the different pieces. I have an intern. I pay him about $150 a month to do marketing work, et cetera. So that all adds up. So I got to subtract that out of the income that's coming in from my monthly fee that I charge people to coach. And, be quite transparent. It is a nice side hustle. It does not take up an inordinate amount of my time. And I get to share my experiences with people who are willing to pay for it, and really do deep coaching with those individuals. And I just wanted to share with you that side hustle of being a professional coach is a great side hustle. If you are somebody who really is deeply caring about the advancements of others, that you get joy out of seeing other people succeed, being a professional coach, whether it be like for business or for finance, or whether it be in athletics or health or wellness, pick some topic that you are good at and have experience doing, like I said early on here. And being a coach as a side hustle is an extremely rewarding and profitable business. You're not technically making anything. You're spending your time with somebody. On the flip side, coaching is not scalable, meaning that if I decided to, quit my day job and be a full-time coach, there's only so many hours in the day that I can coach. And even, there's so few coaches that scale up because they just keep charging a higher and higher hourly rate. I know that like Tony Robbins charges $1 million for personal coaching. And yeah, good on him, man. That's what I have to say. But for me, it's enough to bring in a good amount on my professional coaching side so that I can, add value to my family, and bring an extra income in that's significant. It's a nice extra income. You can do the same. You can be a professional coach. You can be a life coach. I got a good friend of mine, Josh Hedaya, who was on the podcast a few months back. His side hustle is astrology. He's an archetypical astrologer, and he's so good on it. I highly recommend you book a session with Josh. We've had a number of previous coaches on who have what I call niche specialties, right? Their life story matches the needs of their clients, right? So one of them, Susan Foxley, she is a coach and yoga coach. She teaches people who want to have a better quality of life as they age. And she really focuses on folks that are more advanced in age. And, so everybody has these niches, right? That are super, super important to them. And I think about Janice Bussing, who was on our show earlier as well. And Janice really focuses on, breaking out people into that next phase of their life. I mean, she really said she left behind a very successful career to live her dream. And so she teaches people how to make that transition. And so, why am I going so much about on coaching? Because coaching is a wonderful side hustle, but it takes a significantly higher level of self-worth to stand in front of somebody and coach them in a direction for their success. You have to be somebody who feels worthy of your own success before you can translate it into somebody else's success. Coaches are exactly that. They coach people to the next level. That is their job. And coaching is not like a psychiatrist or therapy and stuff like that. Coaches step in to somebody's life and say, you should do this. This is how this is done. I had my experience in doing this. Watch out for that. Well, when you think about therapy and practices like that, that's much more about letting the client have the self-discovery. Well, sometimes in coaching, you just don't have the time for the client to do a face plant and pick them up again. That's not why you're there. You're there to run alongside them and say, hey, watch out for that pothole, and then grab them before they fall into it. That's coaching. So we kind of got a little jag here, but from a side hustle point of view, if you are deciding what it is that you want to do for a side hustle, you can be in the services industry, which is what I told you about my friend Tom, who fixes and does electrical work, right? That's services oriented. You can be in products, which is like my friend Alex and his wife doing candies and caramels and stuff like that. Like my particular wife, who decided she didn't want to sell any of her baked goods. Or you can be in the services business. The services business is really about, what professional service can I deliver that is unique to me that other people want to pay for because of my experience and my history. And I love that. I love being in that space. I may continue to blow it up and to take it to another level. I know right now I'm working on some additional content that I would like to put on my website so people can pay a little bit to take courses on their own and get some of the benefit of my one-on-one coaching and go deeper with the online courses that they otherwise would not get, just like through podcasts and reading and stuff like that. So I hope that's been useful. I hope that you find a side hustle that works for you. And we'll continue to talk about raising our self-worth as you continue to deepen and broaden your side hustle and to either add more income or add more value to the lives of others around you. This is Robert Christensen. Thank you so very much for joining me. Don't forget, please, please, please leave a comment or 5 stars or 2 stars or whatever you're going to do. I would love to hear from you. Take 30 seconds to leave some love on the podcast platform of your choice about Motive for Life. I very much would like you to subscribe. Also, go get the book, The Bug in Our Brain. It's on Kindle and Amazon. Soon to be Audible. I'm in the process of recording that. And for those of you who would much rather consume via Audible, I heard you. I'm going to produce that book here shortly. And then, of course, go to the website, pull down the gift. Gift is 90-day boot camp for rewiring, rebooting up your transformation and your self-worth, for picking that thing up to the next level. Kickstart it. It's 90 days. It is a boot camp, folks. No doubt about it. It is work, because you got to do it every day. But let me tell you, everybody who's ever done the gift for the 90 days has reported back to me and they go, wow, I had no idea that was such a change in my life, and it launches them into the next level. I love you all. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye. This has been a Motive for Life Productions, all rights reserved.